New York Giants fans, I keep seeing so many Giants content creators say things that I just want to argue with on a regular basis. And um, I see it on X. I just don't respond. Many of you might be asking, well, Coach Gene, how do you not respond? Because we know you're passionate. We know that you aren't afraid of the smoke. I'm going to tell y'all exactly what I do. I type out my response and then I just delete it. I don't hit send because I know that all I'm doing is getting their stuff popping, right? I'm starting a debate with somebody that might be on the completely opposite side of what most of you are thinking in Giants in Giants Nation. So I just don't. I don't respond. I don't hit send. But it's hard. I'm Coach Gene Clemens, and I've got a giant issue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of A Giant Issue. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. New York Giants on that side. That's where you get all of your New York Giants news and information from. Make sure you go over there, check out everything that we do. I always give you my 3 plays after the game. I always give you my stats that matter after the game. I always give you a player to steal before the game. I usually give you a matchup to look for before the game. So check out those 4 pieces that you're getting from me weekly in season at the New York Giants on SI. Make sure you're coming over here and telling a friend to come on over here and subscribe to the channel, New York Giants on SI. You see my show, A Giant Issue. You see the Big Blue Breakdown with Paul Dottino. Shout out to him anytime he does his thing. It's a good place to be. It's a place, and I can only speak for me, where I welcome your comments. We don't have to agree. I don't want to kill you. I hope you don't want to do any harm to me. But we can disagree vehemently and then just understand that at the end of the day, we are just talking about sports, right? Sports that we care about, sports that we love, things that we've put a lot of our blood, sweat, and tears into, but sport nonetheless. And that's really what I'm on today when I think about topics that I wanted to talk about today, because I wanted to really just take it off of opponents for right now, right? Because I really and truly believe that there's a level of angst, a level of unhappiness that some Giants fans kind of feel at home in. Like, there's a level of unhappy that some of you guys are just like, yeah, like I've become used to this. And even when it's not the thing, I just don't want to invest in something that might not be true. And so you constantly put yourself in the positions to not be happy. I don't understand it, but I also can get that there's a conditioning there. And so there's certain things that are said that I'm like, man, do they even want to root for something positive to happen? The first thing, and you guys know me, you know how I feel about this if you've been watching this show, if you've been following me when I've appeared on PT's show, so when I've been on Locked On Giants podcast, you notice I'm not on the Locked On Giants podcast much anymore, right? Yeah, I know. It's because I said stuff that people didn't like so much that it was almost like a groundswell to never have me on again, which I'm fine with. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to be listened to, and you take what it is you want. And if you don't agree, you don't agree. I'm cool with it. But I really do think it's interesting when we rewind back to the summertime, and all I heard was how terrible the team was going to be and how bad the schedule was. And then we started to see certain people get a little bit more optimistic, right? I said that the Russell Wilson thing was going to be a disaster. I said it. I said, hey, I don't understand why you would have Jameis Winston on your team and then go out and get Russell Wilson if you're planning on drafting a quarterback. Well, what happened? Right? They didn't listen. They had Russell Wilson. They had Jameis Winston. They still went and paid for a quarterback. And ultimately, what, 2 games in, a game and a half in, blew the entire game plan up to go a different way. And some of you really thought that this season was going to be a success. You said it all throughout the summer. They're making this thing up as you go along. And as they go along. And somehow, before the first game started, you had convinced yourself that this team was going to be a playoff team. And then when it didn't start off well and there were losses, and then they made a quarterback change and he won 1 game. Not impressively, he just was like, okay, but they won the game. You convinced yourself then that there was going to be a run. But if the truth be told, you knew that this season was going to be a disaster by the way in which they conducted everything. I digress. It saddens me because I wonder if you really are excited about the opportunity to win at this point. Because here's my thought behind it. If you were rooting over the last 3 to 4 weeks for success, why would you stop rooting for the success now? Is it because you think you have no chance at the playoffs? Well, what's the goal? When you've been a bottom feeder team, is the goal playoffs, or is the goal give me some wins so that we can start to build in the right direction? See, the problem with the people who say, no, I want to lose so we can get a high draft pick, is that losing begets losing. You know how I know that? Look at the Giants. Look at the Giants. Right? They tried to lose that second season after they made the playoffs when DJ got hurt and when AT was down and they had Tyrod Taylor in there. And then they went to Tommy DeVito because Taylor got hurt. And then they decided to not go back to Taylor after he was healthy. They let Tommy DeVito rock out for a few more games. Maybe y'all didn't realize it or not, but they were tanking. That's why they left Tommy DeVito out there. He was playing well enough to lose without it looking like they were purposely trying to lose, right? That's what was happening. He made it look good when they lost. Because if they knew if they brought Tyrod Taylor back in there, he would win games, and then ultimately they brought him back in there. You know, they ended up with a few wins, but it felt like they were trying to lose. And then the next year, it's hard to get from up underneath all of those losses. Right? It's hard to get up from underneath all of those losses. They pile up on you, and then you just forget how to win. And how do you win? A big part of understanding how to win is understanding how to close out games. This team doesn't have an idea of how to close out a game. I'll give you an example. In the game that we just watched this past Sunday, they moved the ball down, running the ball and passing the ball, but there was plenty of time left. And instead of continuing to run, which you were having some decent success at, they decided to try to throw the ball in order to get it down in there. But if you look back at the 3 touchdowns that were scored in the game, all 3 of those touchdowns were rushing touchdowns. set up by the run game. Again, not the most efficient running game, but effective nonetheless. But instead of leaning into that, even with the time running down, right? But it was still plenty of time to tie the ball game up. Just went to the pass, abandoned the run. Now, I would understand that if they were not running the ball decently, but they were. So it didn't make sense. And then ultimately, it ended poorly. Why did it end poorly? Because you had a receiver in the game running routes who hasn't been in the game running routes, who literally had to have every single wide receiver get hurt outside of Wan'Dale Robinson in order for him to get an opportunity to play. And when he got the opportunity to play, he ran the play wrong, or he ran the route wrong, or he didn't run the route correctly, I should say. Why? Is it because he didn't know? Or was it because he was more selfish? Hey, I see that safety going over that way. I'm going to stop here because I'm just trying to get open. I'm not trying to run the concept that's best for the team. This team doesn't care about me. So I'm going to run my own route. I digress because I don't want it to be about him, although I shouldn't see him in games anymore. I think that there's this idea that if we lose, we'll be able to get more talent. But who's going to teach that young talent how to win? There are no winners on this team. Most of the players all either came from the Giants losing, or they came over from other teams where they were losing. It's not a whole lot of championship experience on this team. Javon Holland came from Miami. They've been bad. Paulson Adebo came from New Orleans. They've been bad. Your two high-profile free agent picks came from organizations that are bad, that have been losing, that have losing cultures. And those are supposed to be the guys that get you over the hump. Well, what about some of the guys they brought in? Well, what about on the defensive line? None of those defensive linemen came from winning situations. Brian Burns didn't come from a winning situation in Carolina, right? All of the defensive linemen that they have, none of them came from winning situations. They may have came from teams that had like some wins, but not winning situations. Cowboys, the Browns, the Seahawks, right? Like recent success, nothing. Heck, even our middle linebacker, for as much as I love him, he did not come from a winning situation in Indy. They were bad in Indy. They were bad in Indy. They were bad to mediocre at best. So he didn't even come from a winning situation. Go look at some of these guys that came directly from college. How many of them came from winning situations? Tyrone Tracy was winning big in Purdue? Like Scat came from a program that did some winning, but not from a winning tradition program. Jackson Dart at Ole Miss won games, but didn't win any like hardware. They were never like SEC champs. That was preserved for the Georgias and the Alabamas. So like these guys that are coming in, like the programs that they come from, are not even necessarily winning programs. And again, I have to ask, like, at what point can do you have people who can teach the others how to win if you yourself don't start trying to get wins? So, with the rest of this time left, people are like, there's some people who are like, oh, like we should just bench Jackson Dart. Excuse me. We should just bench Jackson Dart for the season. We don't need to see Jackson Dart anymore. Like, we've seen enough. Put him in bubble wrap, save him for 2026. But how does that teach Jackson Dart how to win? Now, I'm saying that as somebody who loves Jameis Winston, who would love to see Jameis Winston get a runway of games where he can get his footing under him and continue to improve his relationships with the wide receivers who are there, since they were all new for him to take over. Like, I would love to see that, but that doesn't necessarily help if you believe the future is Jackson Dart. You can't be afraid to like put him out there for fear of injury. And that's where I pull back, or I double back to some of the comments on X that I see. I'm gonna start here with Shawnee B. It's at Joker Sean 37. He is one of the co-hosts for New York Giants Rush. Don't have any beef with him, by the way. No beef. But he says, stop the Carter disappointment tweets, because people have been tweeting about Abdul Carter and his disappointment, right? And so he uses a tweet from Scout D, that's at Scout D NFL, and he lists the NFL pressure leaders among rookies. Number 1 is Abdul Carter with 35. 2 is James Pierce Jr. with 23. 3 is Donovan Ezeraku with 22. 4 is Nick Scarrington with 21. 5 is Mikael Williams with 19. It says Abdul Carter currently has a 12 pressure lead over second place through 11 weeks. He also ranks first in hurries, second in QB hits, first in win rate, right? But what did he not say? He didn't say anything about sacks. He didn't say anything about sacks. You think it's weird that he didn't say anything about sacks? I didn't hear him say anything about sacks. You think it's strange that while talking about someone and how good they are at a position, that he did not mention the very one thing that everybody looks for out of that position to tell whether they're good or not. I think that's weird. Right? I don't understand why you don't say everything. Why you don't give the entire picture? Right? Like, that's my issue. Is why don't you just tell us everything? Like, I don't like when we try to shape the narrative. And if you don't know what I mean when I say shape the narrative, I mean we try to make things like look one way so that it supports our beliefs. Now, we heard all of that stuff about Abdul Carter and what he's done as far as getting pressures and blah, 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 blah. Cool, great. 2025 rookie sack leaders. Jalen Walker has 4 sacks, right? Nick Scarrington of the Panthers, he has 3 sacks. James Pierce of Atlanta has 2.5 sacks. Derek Harmon, Donovan Ezraku, and a few other people have 2 sacks each. 7 other rookies have between a sack and a sack and a half. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know where Abdul Carter falls on that list? Because I know, and I said, hey, do me a favor. Since all of you believe that Abdul Carter is better than Kayvon Thibodeau, even though he hadn't played a game, I want you to hold him to Kayvon Thibodeau's standard, right? He should be able to beat Kayvon Thibodeau's stats. Abdul Carter has a half a sack. So far this season, through 11 games, so it could change, Abdul Carter has a half a sack. So he's above everybody and all them other cool stats that you only bring up when people don't have sacks. It's the only time you bring it up. They were bringing it up, by the way, for the entire Giants edge rushing, except Brian Burns started getting sacks. And here's the funny thing about this. Brian Burns has all of these sacks. It could easily be Abdul Carter. It could easily be Kayvon Thibodeau. A lot of the times when one of them is getting a sack, or when Burns is getting a sack, the other 2 guys are close by him. So he's first to the scene, first to the egg, right? Like, I get it. But we still have to call the spade the spade. Abdul Carter had an opportunity to start this past weekend. Did nothing with the opportunity. Why can't we be critical? If people were critical of Kayvon Thibodeau's rookie season, and he was the 5th overall pick, then why in the hell would they not be critical of Abdul Carter's rookie season? And he's the 3rd overall pick. Need I remind you? Right? Need I remind you how bad you guys have talked about Kayvon Thibodeau? Like, you guys were talking as if he was a complete and utter bust in the offseason because he only had, 5 sacks? 6 sacks? Abdul Carter is better than him from day one. That's all I heard. He hasn't been better than him from day one. And so now, because he hasn't, people are trying to justify, right? People are trying to justify him. They're trying to give him outs. I heard somebody say, unpopular opinion, move him back to off-ball linebacker. Move him back to middle linebacker. So now we want him to play middle linebacker when Penn State didn't think he was good enough to play middle linebacker. That's the wrong word, excuse me. It's not that they didn't think he was good enough. It's that they understood that his worth, his value was higher as an edge rusher. But again, everybody said, hey, Kayvon Thibodeau, bad. You know what Kayvon Thibodeau had his rookie season? 5.5 sacks. You want to know how good Kayvon Thibodeau's rookie season was? He had 5.5 sacks in 8 games. Yep. 5.5 sacks in 8 games. How many games is Abdul Carter in again? Again, for me, because I understand the game, I'm not disappointed. I'm just I'm just mad that now, when people are trying to keep that same energy for Abdul Carter, there are those out there trying to like blow out the smoke. No, let him get it the way you've been on Kayvon Thibodeau. That's all. But I can't hit send on some of these because some of these are just there to get me hype and engage me in conversations that I know are not good for me. Tommy, if y'all remember, who used to do a little bit of work with New York Giants on SI, Tommy's takes, if you remember. Still kicking around on X, and I don't got no beef with Tommy. But he says, watching QBs like Cam Ward, JJ McCarthy, and Michael Penix struggle early really shows the Giants got the right guy at the most important position. I like Jackson Dart, but can we just allow him? Like, how are people trying to crown him so fast? And why does it take so long to understand nuances? Hey, I know that y'all think this Giants team's not that good and that the coaching staff isn't that good, but that coaching staff drew up a game plan for Jackson Dart that allowed him to be successful. It allowed him to be successful. But he put in Michael Penix into the struggles. But Michael Penix was having a good season. 9 touchdowns, not 10 and 6, 9 and 9, but a good joint. But why not tell the entire story, right? 10 passing TDs, 3 interceptions, 10 wide receiver drops, 5 explosive pass play drops, 7 rushing touchdowns on 5.6 yards per carry. Here's my problem. You can't say, hey, they're running him too much when A, they're designing runs for him that's allowed him to average 5.6 yards per carry. And 2, where he has 7 rushing touchdowns. Seems disingenuous. His best attribute is his legs. So if he's not using his legs, is he going to be as effective as a quarterback? Probably not. Not right now. Doesn't mean he can't be in the future, but not right now. Right now, the legs are the moneymaker. Is it good? Is it good production? Yes. Is it ridiculous production? No. And here's why. It's because he handpicked, he cherry-picked stats. Where are the total passing yards? Right? Why not show those? Where are the fumbles? Why not show those? His fumbles have directly led, or his turnovers have directly led to multiple losses. Why not state that? I think Jackson Dart has done a great job, right? I think he's done a great job. We don't have to inflate it just so it seems like we've got our guy. Has the Giants found their franchise quarterback? I don't know. Is Tommy DeVito really, really good? I don't know. Has Tommy, I'm sorry, not Tommy DeVito, is Jackson Dart, is he really, really good? I don't know. Has Jackson Dart seemingly done everything in his power to be the best version of himself for the Giants? Yes. Isn't that all we can ask? Why do we have to take it to the next level? Right? Why can't we just allow it to unfold naturally and celebrate the small things and without jumping to the big conclusion? I don't know if he's going to play this weekend, but if he clears concussion protocol, I hope he does. And I hope they're not rushing him back from concussion protocol just to play. But if he's ready to go, he needs to go. This is his team now. And you've got to go down with the ship. You can rebuild it in the offseason, but you got to go down with the ship. That's the only way they truly respect you. Just a couple things that I'm thinking about that just it's been on my mind. It's an interesting day. So looking forward to the weekend, looking forward to another game, another opportunity to see this team progress, to see players on this team have an opportunity to get better. I know y'all blame Deonte Banks for everything, but it's funny because y'all always like show the one or two bad plays, but never show any of the constant amount of good plays. I really find that strange. But I digress. We'll see next week. We'll see what they have to play. And until then, you guys just try to be a little bit more positive without going off the rails. Just maybe. We'll see. That's all the time we have for today. I'm Coach Gene Clemens, New York Giants on SI. That's where you get all your New York Giants news and information from. Make sure you go over there. Follow me everywhere on social media at Gene Clemens. Go to my YouTube channel, Coach Gene Clemens. If you like betting, holla at me, right? College basketball is on. You can see all my stuff, Line Stepper, patreon.com/Line Stepper. Until next time, I am Coach Gene Clemens, and I have a giant issue.